Hey guys, it's Avi from JustWriteMusic.com. Welcome to part 2 of how to use chords like a pro. Now, if you missed part 1, I highly recommend that you go back and check it out. Everything we talked about is cumulative and is built off of the stuff from part 1. So absolutely go and check that out. That's up here, it's down there, and then come right back here and, you know, see what I have to say about part 2. Yeah. So last time we talked about triads and scale degrees and some harmonic functions, and we talked about the tonic-dominant relationship and some cadences and how that all of that works, all that functions. This time we're going to talk about something called substitutions. That's really cool. It's going to give us some really sweet expressive qualities into our chord progressions. So let's get on to it. Now, most of these other chords can be used in similar functions to the tonic, subdominant, dominant. So what's cool about this is that we can start swapping out some of these and achieve some really different effects, which is pretty dope. Now for the tonic, you can substitute either 3 or 6 in place of 1. The reason for this is because 3 and 6 each share 2 of the same notes as the triad for our tonic. So it kind of still gives us enough of that resolved feeling, but not quite enough though. And this is how we can start to really add color into our chord progressions. But nonetheless, this does make them feel more stable than some of the other chords in the key. Now there's only one subdominant substitute, and that's our 2 chord. Again, the reason for this is because the 2 chord shares 2 notes with the 4 chord. So it makes it feel like the subdominant, just a little bit different. Finally, our 7 diminished chord, oh, I gave something away. Our 7 chord can act as a dominant substitute. But we do have to be careful here, and I kind of just gave it away. The 7 chord is actually a diminished chord. Now compared to other chords, diminished chords are very unstable and they really want to resolve, usually to 1. So 7 usually wants to resolve to 1. That's why it's a good dominant substitute, because the dominant also wants to resolve to 1. But like imagine it's like the dominant times 2 or something, because it like really wants to resolve. It's very unstable. Now usually when you're doing most of these substitutions, you are taking away the cadential motion a lot of the time, especially if you start using inversions and stuff, but we'll talk about inversions in another video. And this is a good thing though, because that lets us save the cadences for the moments that are important to have them, the moments that we want the song to have more weight. We want to hit that half cadence right before we go to the chorus and sing that hook and get everybody totally stoked about our music. And we also want to resolve a cadence. We want to go to a perfect cadence maybe at the end of the chorus or something to give our feelings of resolution. Feel like we went somewhere, we came back, and we're now chilling, ready for that second verse. Now let's put some of this stuff to work. Remember our original chord progression, 1-4-5-1 or C, F, G, C? Let's play that one more time. Just give ourselves a nice reminder. Very nice, right? So let's use a subdominant substitute. So we're going to replace the 4 chord, or F major, with a 2 chord, or the D minor. Ooh. Different, right? So this is our F major, and these share two notes. Yeah. F and A are the 2 notes they share, by the way. So now our chord progression would be 1-2-5-1. Let's see how that sounds. And this, I'll make a little bit more of a strum out of this. It'll sound a little bit more musical. Already, pretty different. Now let's play these 2 back to back. I'm going to do C, F, G, C first, and then go to the D, then do C, D minor, G, C. So 1-4-5-1 and then 1-2-5-1. And you'll see that how varying it, especially once we establish the first one, can really start to add a different character, a different expressivity. Expressivity? Is expressivity a word? It is now. Into our music. So there's a different quality with that D minor to it. There's a kind of melancholiness. Whatever minor chords mean to you in whatever context that meant to you, that's really all that counts. But it's different, and that's really the truly important thing, is we're adding slight variations and slight differences, and that's what the ear finds very pleasurable and what listeners respond to. Now let's take a look at some more substitutions. What would happen if we set up a cadence, but resolved to 6 instead of 1. What? Now this would be a tonic substitution, right? Because we're replacing 1 with 6. Like I said, we're gonna keep the substitution from last time. We're gonna keep the 2 chords. We're gonna do 1, 2, 5, 6 is what we're about to do, okay? So that's gonna be C, D minor, G, A minor. It's gonna sound really, really awesome. Okay. Whoa, whoa. Hold up. Let's do that one more time. Let's do that one. Let's do this. Okay. All right, remember that? Yeah. Feels like we really took a wrong turn, but not in like a bad way. Like we just got hit over the head, like life just hit us over the head with something that we really needed and it was gonna cause us to grow, even though in the moment it might be a little bit painful. This movement from 5 to 6 is often called a deceptive cadence. And it really feels like we don't end up where we think we will, like we took a wrong turn in a really, really good way. Now this is a personal favorite of mine because it hits you really hard. It's very powerful. Now finally, let's look at how we can use the 7 diminished chord as a dominant substitute. So for this one, we're gonna be playing C, G, wait, sorry. I'm gonna look at this while I say this because I can't remember it right now. So this chord progression for the dominant substitute is C, F, A minor, B diminished, C. All right, here we go. That's the B diminished. Listen to how unstable that is. Right? You hear how crunchy it is? It really doesn't want us to linger on it, but sometimes we linger. This diminished chord is unstable for 2 reasons. The first is it's based off of what's called the leading tone. This is also the 7th scale degree. Now, since in the major scale there's only a half step between 7 and 1, it really, really wants to move up, hence leading tone. It's leading us to the tonic. Now, the second thing that makes it so unstable is its diminished 5th between the root and the 5th. This means that it's actually a half step lower than a regular 5th like we find in our regular major and minor chords, regularly. In this case, it's the B going to the F. Anyone know Stevie T? Yeah, I'm not him. This is also called a tritone, and it has a very specific sound in case you didn't hear it just now. It's often characterized as dissonant, but it can also be kind of like bright and uplifting, almost overly bright and uplifting when used in a certain context, usually in like a Lydian type context. Don't worry about what I just said. It's a music thing and you'll learn more of this stuff as we just chill, stick around. I'm glad to have you here. Hi, I'm Avi. Now there's a elephant in the room. We're kind of using these 2 different naming systems, right? Okay, 3 different naming systems. But we've been using 2 general ones. We've been using these Roman numerals, 1, 4, 5, and all that. And we've also been using the lead sheet notation or the letter names for the chords, C, F, G, all that, right? So what's the deal there? So the Roman numerals apply to more than just one key. They help us really identify the function that the chords are using in respect to 18th century tonal harmony. But because these rules are so prevalent, it's very, very helpful to be able to say to another musician to speak functionally with these rules to another musician rather than just saying what chords you're hitting, because sometimes you need to change keys because singers are a thing. This is all just meant to save loads of time. You know, instead of saying, I'm gonna go back into my script here really quick. Instead of saying, yeah, I'm doing D, G, A, D, right? D, G, A, D. You can say I'm doing 1, 4, 5, 1 in D. And because singers are a thing, in fact, they are a real thing that exists in this world. If you're a singer, you know, I'm a singer, I sing poorly, but I have a pretty low voice and I often need to change the key when I'm writing and when I'm performing in order to sound remotely okay and listenable. That's one of the reasons why these functional roles are very, very useful, because I can just tell someone, hey, I'm doing 1, 4, 5, 1 in A. Wait, that's too high for my voice. I'm gonna do 1, 4, 5, 1 in G instead, rather than saying, oh, I'm doing, you know, D, G, what was it? I'm doing D, G, A, D. You know, I don't have to make that do that formulation that I just messed up all the time. Right there, me messing up just proved the usefulness of it. Take that to heart because I'll mess up often. Let's talk about that 3rd naming system that I just brought up, we were talking about tonic and dominant. So there are other names. The other chords aside from, and subdominant, the other chords aside from 1, 4, and 5, tonic, subdominant, and dominant, also have other names that we can use to identify them and identify their role within the key. So 2 is called the supertonic. Etymologically, super just means above, so it's above the tonic. That's it. That's all you need to know. 3 is called the mediant because it kind of represents a middle point between 1 and 5, between the tonic and the dominant. Now 6 is called the submediant because it's also a middle point between 1 and 5, but below the tonic. Even though 6 also comes after 1. So, you know, logic. Yeah. 7, like we referred to earlier, is called the leading tone, or when it's a chord, the diminished chord is called the leading tone chord, due to its unstable nature and desire to resolve to the tonic, to the tonic. Now these names can refer to both the scale degree itself, or like we were talking about the leading tone, or the chord that the scale degree is based off of or is built off of. Oh hey, what's going on? It's me, Avi. I'm just over here forgetting to record and film the outro for part 2. Yeah, I'm doing great over here. This week we covered substitutions, tonic substitutions, subdominant substitutions, and dominant substitutions. We also talked about some of our naming systems that we use to talk about this stuff. We talked about talking about stuff. That's what we did today. That's what we did. So we have our lead sheet notation, which is the alphabetical names that we see, you know, C, G, that one, those. Then we also have our Roman numerals, which reflect our harmonic functions, or tonic, subdominant, that type of thing. And then finally, we actually have the tonic subdominant naming system as well, which again tells us our harmonic functions, but you know, when we're writing stuff down, we don't have to write tonic or subdominant. The Roman numerals just allow us to write the relevant chords that are part of the relevant key, or keys. In part 3, we get to talk about some even more fun stuff, things like prolongation, which can really get us to expand the scope of our chord progressions in a really, really cool way. So I'm really excited about that. Remember to check out my free guide, 7 Ways to Write a More Effective Melody, if you're ready to start writing some awesome chord progressions, but also want to write some melodies to match. Head down to justwritemusic.com. There is a link down in the description. Throw me a comment down below with your thoughts about this video, on your process for writing a chord progression, whether you just go from ear to ear using trial and error, or maybe you use a kind of a hybrid approach. That's what I tend to do. I like to use a hybrid approach of following my ear, and also, you know, when I run into a problem, that's when I'll start looking to theory and looking to these functions to help kind of sort things out. That's sort of, I mean, we've talked about this before, the way I like to use theory and this type of analytical structures is to solve problems, to solve compositional and writing problems that come up within the process. So thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Avi from Just Write Music.